everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this newest episode of Adeptus Podcastus. Joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, no guest this week I'm afraid, so sorry if you were expecting someone, but sometimes we just can't get guests in time. It happens. People have lives, some people have kids, it happens, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway.
Yeah, we've spoken to a few people, we've got a few cogs are spinning, but unfortunately we couldn't get one to click this week, so apologies for that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, one person we did ask actually turned it down because, well, they've got Steve Carino, so get well soon. We'll have you back on the show shortly, so...
Yeah,
anyway.
That would be good.
Yes. So, in the news this week, I think we should probably start with the big one, the debacle.
Yeah, I feel like if we didn't start there, then we'd be doing a bit of a disservice. There is a PSA on for GW we need to do later, but I think we do need to talk about Cursed City, the Warhammer Quest game. Now, when we recorded the last episode, Cursed City was about to come out. It had been up for pre-order and was about to be released on the Saturday, and by Monday it was gone. Well, I mean, technically by Saturday night it was gone, and I think from the Monday it pretty much said that it was never coming back.
Yeah, they delisted it from the store, and they basically turned around and said, yeah, it was just a limited run deal, to which everyone went, wait, what?
Which is not how they sold it in the promo. At all.
And not to mention the fact that the Warhammer community Facebook page, someone actually asked the question, is it a limited run or is it a permanent part of the range like with Blackstone Fortress was for a brief time? And they said it wasn't a limited run, they said it was going to be a permanent fixture.
Now,
or at least for the time being. So
now, let's not jump to conclusions, because GW have not said anything further on the matter, for or against it. There are suspicions there may be copyright infringement issues at the moment. Which, if there are, how did GW miss that? Because I don't think that, considering how community-driven they've tried to be over the past several months, years, they would go out of their way to overtly lie. I think there's been either a miscommunication between head office / the production team and the media team, which has meant that we've thought it was going to be a permanent run, but it wasn't. Or there's been some other issue on GW's end that we're not aware of, either because we just don't know yet or we're not allowed to know.
Yeah, because there was one thing I have seen. It was in regards to emails being sent out to independent stockists, like independent game stores and all that, basically saying... Cursed City is sold out. We have no current plans to make more available. Do not take orders from your customers for stock you have not confirmed with us.
Yeah, which it's just a case of where's the miscommunication? Has it been from head office to media team? Has it been from the media team to us? What has happened? We don't know. And at the moment, I think we need to just be aware. I'm not trying to defend GW here. I'm just trying to rationalize it, because them just outright lying for the sake of fear. Because to be honest, it's not in their interest to say it's a permanent run but make it limited. It's actually kind of against their own interests.
I've seen some people saying they're trying to basically pull a Nintendo. Because, if Nintendo did that artificial scarcity with that Switch release of the that Mario game, wasn't there? That's like, we're only going to have it available from this date to this date, then you can't get it anymore.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, Nintendo have been doing that for years with shiny Pokemon events and all that. But if you're GW, why would you, particularly if you work on a fear of missing out model, which arguably in some ways GW do, in terms of, here's the shiny thing, get it now, get it now, get it now. Why would you say, we are going to keep this around for a while, so don't worry about getting it on day one, and then only sell a few on day one? It's kind of the thing they would normally do in that kind of marketing model. I think, I'm not a marketer, but this is what I think, is you'd say it was a limited run and then bring it back later. So you encourage those FOMO sales to sell out the first run, and then you just bring it back later so that people buy it, rather than people holding off because they know it's going to be around for 3 to 6 months and then they pick it up later.
Do you think they're trying to do what they did with Indomitus?
I forget. What did they do with Indomitus?
It was a limited run, then it sold out, then because the demand was so high, they did a second made-to-order run.
I mean, it's absolutely possible, but that they said explicitly up front, this is going to be a huge but limited run. But they then also said at the time that, well, I don't know if they said at the time that they were going to do the made-to-order, but they then very quickly did an about-face. It's now been, at the time of recording, it's been nearly 2 weeks. And we've had nothing, no comms, no nothing. Which, if it was just, we miscommunicated, our bad, it would take a 30-second press release.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that there's some other thing going on here, because it doesn't seem intuitive for them to have done it this way.
Yeah, because I know there were a few hobby YouTubers who thought they were going to get in the shit, basically, for saying it was going to be, you know, a permanent part of the range, and it's making them look like liars, and they're really worried about that. But it's like, you know, you're just going by the information that you were given, you know, by the press team and all that. So
absolutely.
As far as you were aware, as far as everyone else was aware, it was a permanent part of the range. But then GW said, oh, actually, no, it's limited edition run. Sorry, bye. Kind of thing.
So there's not a lot we can really say that hasn't been said by everybody else, because as is the problem with recording these episodes at the time we do, we always end up a little bit behind the release curve. So we probably can't say much that hasn't already been said. But if this was an intentional marketing move, then it is a very poor marketing strategy, and I sincerely hope it is never repeated.
To basically, you know, use that scene from The Simpsons. Boy, I hope someone got fired for that one. I'm joking. I hope no one actually did get fired, but I hope someone did get a disciplinary action if they were deliberately lying.
If there was deliberate lies, absolutely. If there's a miscommunication, then just, you know, shore up your Voxcasters.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so, oh, sorry, carry on.
But in light of that, the other thing GW put out this week, just as a PSA, they have switched up their pre-order schedule, as you may be aware. So what they've said at the moment, so we're recording this on the 23rd of April, and on the week of the 25th of April, and I think, yeah, so for the rest of April, which has already been one weekend and now this one as well, there are to be no pre-orders, and pre-orders will return in May, which by the time this episode goes out will hopefully be that weekend. Actually, yeah, 1st of May, theoretically, because it's being a Saturday, could have pre-orders for the 1st of May. We don't know at this time of recording. But there have been no pre-orders for a couple of weeks. In response to that, GW went on a model reveal bonanza. And my Warhammer community just kicked me out again. Literally, it's gone back to my internet homepage twice in 10 minutes. What's going on? Anyway, so...
You didn't consecrate the machine spirit.
So, in terms of the reveals of the we're not releasing anything here, look at the shiny things, we got 2 major reveals in a single day. One for Warhammer 40,000 and one for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. And I don't really know which one to start on, because I want them both.
Well, let's go for the big one, as in physically the big one.
Okay, then.
The talent and the voice of Slaanesh.
Yeah. So, context. For those of you not following the Age of Sigmar plot threads at the moment, in Broken Realms Morathi, it's been out several months, I don't consider this a spoiler. In Broken Realms Morathi did a ritual and went back into the belly of Slaanesh and ate the souls of the Phoenix Kings to become a god. During that process, as Morathi was being booted out by an Aryan soul, I think an Aryan anyway, Slaanesh sent a part of itself, a pure but independent part of itself, out of itself following sort of the portal that Morathi had created into the realm of shadow. This entity was called the Newborn, and it has essentially a baby Slaanesh gestating in Ulgu. And now it's starting to show its hand with these two massive greater demons, which are named Sinesses the Voice and Dexessa the Talon of Slaanesh. Oh wow. Wow, these models are ludicrous. And I love them.
And big.
Yeah, very, very big.
Like basically, it's kind of like what would happen if you crossed the Keeper of Secrets with the Celestine model in regards to the posing, essentially. Just like balanced on a very precarious bit of cloth, but with big, massive, like, peacock tail wings spread out. And it just looks really good.
Yeah. And it's quite appropriate that over the weekend, I actually painted my first models in my Slaanesh collection. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, you mean we're getting 2 new greater demons now? So, yeah, we're not quite sure. I think that what they're doing is that these guys will sort of play the role of the Mega Gargant in the Head of Knights of Slaanesh army, because something that one of my friends pointed out to me, and we'll come on to this again later, is GW with AOS has really gone down the super huge centerpiece model route. They've done it with Bellacor recently. You've got Teclis, you've got Morathi, you've got the Mega Gargants as an example. They've really been pushing these big, literally big, centerpiece models for a lot of factions. And these guys, I think, will play that role. Obviously, you've got Glutos or Scolian for Slaanesh with the big palanquin and the meat feast and all of that. But he's not that huge and imposing, even compared to a Keeper of Secrets. These guys will be.
Yep.
Do you have a preference between the two?
I kind of prefer Dexessa's look.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually prefer Sinesses, I think, with the 2 wings, and I think I prefer the head. It just seems a bit more aesthetically pleasing to me versus the sort of chaotic one of Dexessa.
I think that's because the reason I like Dexessa is because it is a bit more chaotic.
Get that? Yeah. My Slaanesh army is very much about aesthetic over power. So I quite like, and also that just the lore behind them, like the embodying the lethal, ferocious aspect of Slaanesh's battle lust versus the softly spoken word manipulating the mind with eldritch magics and mesmerizing words, which I don't know, like that sort of sibilant whisper in the mind is something I really like. Or if I have to say I like something about the Chaos Gods, it's that subtle corrupting influence that slowly turns people. Mainly because that's what happened to me with getting a Slaanesh army, but we don't talk about that. But yeah, I like them both quite a lot.
Well, yet at least, anyway.
On the 40k side, nothing quite so... Sorry, you cut out, so I didn't really hear you.
It's fine. I just said fair enough.
Oh, fair enough.
But yes, on the 40k side of things, something a bit bigger than normal, but not massive, just bigger than a normal orc. New Beast Snagger. One that's not riding a beast.
Yes,
but he's a big boy.
Sorry.
I say he's a big boy. He's like the size between an orc boy and a knob in terms of his size.
Or as they were quickly christened, Primaris Orcs. Sigh.
It's Primar Orcs or Primorcus. Get it right.
All right, fine. But either way, aesthetically, I really, really like this model. Like, I'm an orc player by heart. I've been an orc player for over a decade at this point. So I've really come to like the orcs model range, and I really like the design on this. It's the sort of scaled hide, almost like a half coat, half cloak, half shoulder guard, I guess, because it doesn't cover all the way around like a jacket. You've got that mix of rustic and high-ish tech with the motorized chopper. You got that wear and tear, like the scarring on their chest and the ripped trousers, not something you see very often. I really like this model. And it's got such an amount of depth for painting. Like, you can just quickly slap some paint on it and go. But with things like that scarring and all the chipped effects that you can do with orcs because they're orcs, this is what I love about the Orc Rangers, that you can paint them really quickly and they'll look great, but you can also spend hours on them and make them sing. Or war cry.
Oh, so you don't want to hear a singing orc?
No.
It'll sound like a night out in London, but hey.
But yeah, so between these and the Beast Snaggers, clearly we've got a bit of a push for the snakebite aesthetic for the orcs, which is good because we got quite a mechanized one for the orcs back in 8th edition with October, very much about the vehicles and the buggies and the speed freaks. Going back to the traditionalist boots on the ground and cavalry ways is something I'm really here for.
Yeah. And also, we've had a bit of a sneak peek in regards to House of Faith for Necromunda, which is House Cawdor and also the Redemptionists. Yes,
they very much tied them together, but just separate enough to get around legalities. And they've sort of described it that Cawdor gangs can be all Cawdor, all Redemptionists, or any blend. But the rule is, if you've got more Redemptionists than not, then they become an outlaw gang, which I'm not really sure what that means in the Necromunda context, but...
It basically means in regards to things like if you're playing a campaign, it makes it harder for you to obtain certain resources because obviously you can't just go to a trader, you have to get shit on the black market and kind of thing.
So like you get better fighters, but a harder progression, I guess.
Kinda, yeah. And also, if you're an outlaw, other gangs can obtain a bounty from like capturing or killing members of your gang.
It really doesn't seem like a good idea, does it?
But there's also exclusive gear and that you can only get whilst you're an outlaw, so...
Right, I see. And they also introduced...
It kind of balances out and stuff, so...
Fair enough. They've introduced...
Like risk and reward.
Yeah. There's also a couple of hired guns. We've seen the headsman before, with the big axe and the noose necklace and all that. But they've also shown a flagellator, which I don't think we have a model for yet.
No.
Who's got...
But basically, he's got big, massive flails for arms.
I was going to say, yeah, they've taken his arms off at just above the elbow and replaced them with arco-flagellant whips. Well, not arco-flagellant, you know what I mean.
Flagellant whips.
Yes, electrified flagellant whips. They've got studs embedded in them. And it's like, but they're called a flagellator, but they're also wearing this like sinner's signboard. So are they a flagellant or a flagellator? Or both?
Yes.
But yeah, I think that'll be a really cool model when it comes out for the Redemptionists. I really like that model.
I just hope, if it comes out through Forge World, I just hope they give it a better paint job than the recent hired gun models that they released through Forge World, because some of them had really shitty paint jobs. Really bad.
Yeah, Forge World's painting versus GW's versus... It's a very unique painting style. And as I said, I think, during the last episode, it'd be nice if you got more pictures of unpainted models in model reviews.
I mean, it wasn't just the fact that it was just Forge World's painting style, it's just the fact that these models were objectively shittily painted. Because, like, if you look at the official painted model for Gore Halfhorn, for example, like, that looks pretty damn good, all things considered. But then you look at... I'm trying to find... Because Forge World's moved everything around. I'm trying to find where the fuck is Necromunda's stuff now. Where's Specialist Games? I don't know. Is it in Box Games? I don't know. Oh, Necromunda. Okay. Right, where is that hired gun? Right. Hired gun, where is it? Because there was a really... Yeah, because, like, Gore Halfhorn looked fine. Yeah, Umbra and the Deserter, they look fine. Ragnar Gunstein, he looks fine. But then you get to... How do you pronounce it? Ortrum 88. And it just looks so shitty. Like, oh god, load up, you piece of shit.
For context, Remleiz is trying to find the image and put it into our shared group chat so that I can look at it.
It's just...
I mean, it's...
sloppy.
It's better than I could do. Not that saying much.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. You're not being paid... But you're not a staff member of Games Workshop or Forge World being paid to paint these.
I take your point.
You know, here's another one. Yeah, the Phaetos 232 Weirdlock. But look at that face. There's it's all completely washed out. You can't discern anything from that.
I suppose so. I see what you mean.
Yeah, and especially when you compare it to the paint job from these two, the Yar Umbra and the Deserter, these look much better. They're clean. You can discern all the detail. The face on the Deserter looks really well done.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I do.
Just fucking sloppy.
But
I was going to say, speaking of sloppy-looking people, Malagurst.
I think we were going in the same direction. So they revealed Malagurst the Twisted, Horus's equerry. Though, admittedly, this is not end of Heresy Malagurst. This is start of Heresy Malagurst. I have to say, it's a very interesting way to do an icon bearer, a standard bearer, because they're not holding the banner pole. They're holding the star underneath the Eye of Horus, which is a different way of doing it, to be sure. But I like the design. You can clearly see the armor's been quite heavily modified. The scar tissue looks really clean on the head. I don't know why they've got a 4-vent backpack, but there we go. And I like that unique bolt gun design as well, or semi-unique bolt gun design. I think it's a really nice model, design-wise.
Now, I've heard some interesting rumours regarding this particular model, and it basically all boils down to the paint job. Saying that the paint job is too clean for it to be Forge World. So some people are saying that this isn't going to be a resin Forge World miniature, it's going to be plastic. Because this is tying into the rumours that some people have been saying about Horus Heresy 2.0.
Yes, I remember. Yes, I remember now you saying it. People saying that Malagurst is going to show up in the 30k box game release in full plastic under GW's banner instead of Forge World or something like that. Yeah,
it's possible considering that we've actually had 2 Horus Heresy box games released under Games Workshop
in plastic.
Yeah. Like Betrayal of Calf and Burning of Prospero, which the latter of which actually giving us our plastic Azek Araman.
It did. It definitely did.
Which you still can't get anywhere else, which I'm sure a lot of people are happy about because you can't get the box set anymore. So if you play 1,000 Suns for 30k and want Azek Araman, good luck at hunting on eBay.
True. But yeah, either way, whatever they are doing, Malagurst looks well. And I look forward to seeing what they do next with Heresy, whether it's a full reboot or just a new box game, whatever. It's a nice looking miniature, and I hope that they continue down that road.
I'm honestly not sure we're going to get Horus Heresy 2.0 just yet, considering that we've still been using the same rule set for Horus Heresy since... How long ago since we started using it? How long ago did the first book come out? 2012?
I mean, the first Primarchs were 2014-15 model-wise. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to find when the
first book came out. The first Black Book came out in 2012.
Oh, blimey.
So we've been using that rule set for close to a decade now. Part of me thinks we're not going to get 2.0 until at the very least we get Jagatai Khan's model out because we're still waiting for him.
Yeah, it sort of is are they going to just get the new rules, if they do, out the door, or are you going to wait to give all the models a chance in this edition? Jagatai has never been used because he hasn't got a model. So are they going to give him a chance in this edition to be played before they just, scrap it all together? We don't know.
I mean, I think for a Primarch at the very least, they're going to wait to release it on Forge World rather than, going anything plastic on GW site, because let's be honest, the resin Primarchs are more expensive, therefore they earn GW more money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The character series is going to stay with Forge World no matter what happens. Forge World owns the character series. Which, again, adds this whole conspiracy of why isn't Malagurst in the character series or whatever. Or if he is, why does he look so different?
I think we are going to get a third box game. It's probably going to be another scenario because we had the Battle of Calth, we had Prospero. What conflict? Oh god!
So this, if it's Malagurst, if this is early Heresy Malagurst, it would have to be Istvan.
That's true. Actually, could it be Davin? No, it's not Davin. No, Davin. Oh, Beta Garmin?
No, this is early Heresy Malagurst.
Is it explicitly say being as early Heresy Malagurst?
Yeah, it says this is how he looked at the beginning of the Horus Heresy.
Huh.
Because obviously he gets a lot more twisted as he goes along.
Well, he has that face later on in the Heresy anyway, well after Horus has become corrupt, so... Huh.
We'll see, I suppose. We will see. But he was not the biggest model, although that obviously goes to the twins, but he was certainly not the only old hand making a return. In fact, we got an even older hand, a hand so old it's dead. Lord Croak is back.
Yeah, I don't think anyone expected him, of all people, to have a new bloody model.
Not complaining, though, because look at the blasted thing. Wow.
Yeah, he cleaned up really well.
He didn't just clean up, he glowed up.
Like in the middle of a big spinning, discs formation thingy. I don't even know how to fucking describe it. A big celestial compass. There we go. Just call it that.
Yeah, and I know he has a role to play in Broken Realms Bellacor. The Seraphon have a role to play in there. I don't know much of the details because the book isn't out officially until tomorrow, and I've tried to avoid too many spoilers. But I know Croak is in Broken Realms Bellacor. But purely on an aesthetic, he looks a lot less dead. He looks a lot less skeletal in this. Well, maybe it's just the paint scheme. But he looks a lot less skeletal here than he does.
I mean, there's a version of the model without the face mask, so you can actually see his face.
I mean, you could do that, I think, on the original Croak as well. I think. But absolutely. And I get the feeling it's going to be a very creative build because of all these interlocking pieces to help and hold it up. And it plays into what I was talking about earlier with the twins, this idea of going for grand centerpiece models for every single army. And yeah, Croak looks great. I'm not a Seraphon player, never will be, but Croak looks great.
Yeah, because the only other thing I know about Croak in AOS now is that apparently he's at the literal center of the AOS universe.
I mean, he's ludicrously overpowered. So at least he used to be ludicrously overpowered. I think they nerfed him in the most recent Seraphon battle tome because he was ludicrously overpowered to start with. And they do say they're rewriting his war scroll for this model. And yeah, I've seen that piece of artwork of him sort of at this, seemingly at the nexus of the 8 realms, which of course is the 8 points, which is ruled by Archaon. So no. But either way, Croak and the Slann have been meditating on things for a long time, and it's good to see them getting a move on. The question becomes, is this going to become the Slann Mage Priest model as an alternate build, or will it only build Croak? It's a question I have.
I think it's going to be purely Croak, and my reasoning for that is it seems way too ornate to be a regular Slann Mage Priest model, because Croak is supposed to be he was of the very first spawning of Slann Mage Priests. He was the most powerful of all Slann Mage Priests and the most revered. So he's basically the Slann Mage Priest Primarch in a sense.
Absolutely. It's just if you took away some of the over-the-top ornamentation and the top banner and you removed the skink, could you strip it down enough to make a Slann Mage Priest model? And if you're not going to make a Slann Mage Priest model out of it, why would you rework one slan into one kit and not do the other, and leave that one on its old resin tiny baby frog, which is going to look terrible by comparison. I guess. We'll see, I suppose.
I wonder if he'll have access to his Geomancy spells, like he did originally.
Geomancy has generally been passed over to the Lumineth in terms of manipulating the realms like the earth and the winds. The Seraphon now are celestials, they're star demons of order, and so they often manipulate the heavens and the fates quite a lot more than they used to. So they often work around what would be like the law of beasts and the law of heavens quite a lot now.
Okay.
It's not to say that they don't do geomancy spells, because they have...
No, I only bring it up because, like, when Croak was originally introduced as a character, back in, like, 5th edition Warhammer Fantasy, it was back then when you were picking spells for your wizards and that, you drew your spells randomly, and you could... And, like, the only army that could actually deliberately pick what spells they wanted were undead / vampire count / tomb kings. But Croak was unique because he actually had 4... I think it was 5. He had 5 unique spells that he started with and he always knew, which were all based on his knowledge of geomancy. So he could create things... He could do, like, create earthquakes or cause a mountain range to erupt in the middle of, like, an enemy regiment. You know, like, part the seas and stuff like that. So, like, he can make, units cross water without penalty and stuff like that.
Right, I see. On his old war scroll, his signature ability is about calling down comets nowadays.
Right.
But there are sort of 2 branches of Seraphon culture. There are the Coalesced and the Starborn. So the Starborn are the star demons. They live in the stars on their fleets, literal spaceships that they escape from the end times with. But those that made Realmfall and decided to stay on the ground basically adapted to live on the ground, and so they lost a lot of their teleporty magic powers and gained more bestial abilities and became the Coalesced. It's like their demons have fully taken form and coalesced into reality, if you like. So they might have a bit more earth power. I haven't got the battle tome in front of me to check. I do have it, but it's been a while since I've looked at it.
Fair enough. And in other news, we actually have a preview of another upcoming Warhammer animation called Iron Within.
Yeah, I haven't really had a chance to look at this properly yet. So this is to read the promo piece, it focuses on an embattled pair of Astra Militarum troopers engaged in the desperate defense of an isolated Imperial world. Throughout the series, the protagonists will fight for their survival, but also be confronted with choices that have profound consequences for the entire planet. Oh my god, it's a bloody it's a 2-player RPG, basically.
Mass Effect 40k edition.
It sounds, or Fallout 40k, I suppose, looking at the sheer amount of grime.
That's true, yeah. The character models look really nice, though.
They do.
Like I like the commissar one, like with the scar running down one side of the face, and you got like the soreness and the red swelling around that wire going into his cheek around the augmetic and all that. Yeah,
absolutely. And it says that they'll be fighting Iron Warriors. So
hence the name of Iron Within.
Yeah, makes total sense. With antique bolters, Mark II armor, and the warning chevrons. So it's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on whenever it comes out.
I always still find it funny that Iron Warriors put warning chevrons and everything. It's like, oh, you don't want to hurt yourself handling that, mate. How spiky it is, you might hurt yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one other model reveal, actually, though, that we need to mention.
Which was that?
The new Battle Sisters.
Oh, yeah, the melee ones.
Yes, so these are the Celestian Sacrosancts. Essentially, melee Sisters of Battle with halberds and shields. Can
I just point out how I love the fact that the the counterweight spike at the back of the axe is a fleur-de-lis.
Oh yeah, it is a fleur-de-lis symbol. Yeah, actually, I didn't clock that. Though I have to question. They've got a bolter shield. But can't we have custodians in our sisters' army? We have custodians at home. Custodians at home. It's just like you've got halberds and shields. So they've taken half of one unit of custodians, half the other. Put the gun on the shield instead of the halberd, and how are you supposed to use a weapon that cumbersome and two-handed when your other hand is holding a shield with a gun on it? How?
The answer is simple. Rule of cool.
I mean, yes, rule of cool, but this is the thing, maybe it's my fantasy brain talking, but if you took a weapon like a halberd that was two-handed, then it was a two-handed weapon. You had to have two hands free, so you couldn't have a shield.
I mean, in fairness, we can't see how she's holding the shield, so it may be, clasped onto, her forearm rather than holding it in her hand.
In which case, how do you swing a halberd properly when half your arm is still blocked by a shield? You can only do a half swing before you clang off your own, presumably powered shield field. It's just... But, that said...
Power armor explains everything.
That
gives you the strength to do it.
It looks really cool. I love the fact that the shield kind of looks like a coffin lid as well. And the halberd itself looks great. I have nothing against them all. I just... practically, I know 40k, but it doesn't feel practical to do it like that.
Speaking of impractical, for those of you who bought Piety and Pain, you may have noticed that the points and power rating for the Palatine weren't in the rulebook.
Yes, they're in this article instead.
They basically went whoopsie, and I think this is the third errata in recent weeks GW's been forced to put out. Because they had to put one out for Bellacor, because the instructions are actually wrong.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And even in Cursed City, the people who did get it, there was an errata in the box saying, this is how you assemble the models here. Whoops.
Yeah. So, QA department, please.
It's I'm just going to assume they got someone new on the job and this is the first day. Oh, but there was one thing I did want to bring up, and I wanted to ask your opinion. It's to do with the new Rumour Engine.
Oh, this is the one that you pinged me about, isn't it?
Yes.
So we might as well... I think it might be worth putting this one on screen for the viewers, because the Rumour Engine is one thing that sometimes gets missed when people are browsing Warhammer Community.
I'll put a link in the video description because my editing software doesn't really do well for picture-in-picture.
Fair enough. So what this resembles to a lot of people, it's like a floating control panel with 3 nodes and a few buttons and a hand pressing on it. Now, the aesthetic of the control panel screams Tau.
But the fingers don't match the Tau. There's too many fingers.
Yeah, they're too humanoid. Now, when I saw this the first time, my brain did go, Tau. But I'm kind of thinking this may be an Eldari character.
Or, potential counterpoint, Gay Vaser?
I mean, I'd love it to be Gay Vaser. Yes, please. I would absolutely say, if it's Gay Vaser, I am here for it. However, I just don't see it being Gay Vaser. I don't feel like they're going to do Gay Vaser. Certainly not they treat them in the same way that the Gene Stealer cults treat Brood Brothers. It would be a conversion kit for a guard squad and stuff, rather than a full-blown sub-faction within the army, because I don't think the Tau really use the Gay Vaser like that, really. They'll field armies of Gay Vaser, but they'll always fight alongside the Firecaste and the Hunter Cadres, because any job worth doing, send a Tau. If you're the Tau, that's sort of the way they look at it. So,
what about a Gay Vaser special character for an upcoming Tau Codex?
I mean, absolutely. Again, absolutely here for it if it is. But that implies that Gay Vaser is going to sort of have its own sort of standalone sub-section. If they're going to give them named characters, they need to have unique Gay Vaser squads with unique armor and pulse rifles and all of that. Which, again, I would love. I just don't see them doing it. I'd love to, but I don't think they would.
The only other alternative I can think of, aside from it being Eldari, is that it's an Inquisitor using Xenotech. Kind of like, that one from, what was it, Psychic Awakening that was using, the Eldari equipment. Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
I've forgotten the name.
Yeah, I have as well, actually. But, yeah, that's absolutely within the realms of possibility as well, that it is an Inquisitor. And we know that, well, since they've been releasing all those witch hunters for AOS that are going to make people want to make more Inquisitors, why not put out a dedicated Inquisitor model on top? It's certainly, again, within the realms of possibility that that's what they're going for. So, one to keep an eye on for sure, that Rumour Engine.
Oh, yeah. What else we got in the news?
In terms of Warhammer community, that covers most everything. Broken Realms Bellacor is out tomorrow, and I'm getting my hands on that just to give it a read over. So, not much to discuss there. And in terms of books, I've not had a chance to read anything since I finished The Gate of Bones at all, in all honesty.
Fair enough.
There was a 40k ebook Humble Bundle that went out. However, I have a funny feeling that... Oh, no, it's still going. I stand corrected.
Oh, is it?
It went out on the 15th of April, so about a week ago at the time of recording, 10 days ago at the time of launch of episode. So it should be available for another week or so from the time of this video going out. So about first week of May, you should be able to pick it up with a 3-tier bundle where the first tier is Astra Militarum books, the 6 of them, including 15 Hours, Cadian Honor, which are 2 very well-known books, and Caiaphas Cain as well, and Sabbath World's Double Eagle. Tier 2, you got Chaos Marines with Black Legion, the Arendetsky Bowden novel, Fabius Bowel Clone Lord, Lucius the Faultless Blade, the old Blood Reaver novel for the Night Lords, and Shroud of Night as well.
Nice.
And tier 3, you've got Ashes of Prospero, not that I think you particularly like that one. Battle of the Fang, which is really good. Knights of Macragge is really good. Avenging Sun is really good. You've got Path of the Dark Eldar in there. You've got Wild Rider, War of Secrets, and Volume 1 of The Beast Arises, and the Leviathan Tyrannid Omnibus.
Oh. Speaking of book bundles, because I just looked on Black Library to get the names of the short stories and the rest of the Blood of the Emperor anthology, because my copy is all the way across the end of the room and I can't even bother to get up and get it.
Fair, because we're going to be talking about the rest of that today.
Exactly, and I noticed they're putting up a Bellacor ebook bundle in celebration of Broken Realms Bellacor, which contains Archaon, Lord of Chaos, Gotrek and Felix, Slayer, and Araman the First Prince.
Why do I not know Araman the First Prince?
Because it's an audio drama.
That would be why.
But I think they just put like an ebook version of the audio drama.
Yeah, I often end up missing out on audio dramas. They're not really my style of literature.
Oh no, it is just straight up the audio drama. I thought it'd be like, a booked version of the audio drama, like they sometimes do, because sometimes they get an audio drama and they actually write it as an actual story.
Do you remember, actually, the one I remember best, do you remember Realm Slayer, where they actually released the script as a book?
Oh, yeah. I remember that, yeah. Didn't get it, but yeah, I remember that came out, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see a bit more of that, like, the scripts to the audio dramas, because, like, it's less work on the writers to have to try and rewrite everything, and you get the gist of it from just reading the script, and it means that anyone who wants to train themselves as like a voice actor has like actual stage directions to work off of.
Oh god, yeah.
Which, of course, you're never going to quite impersonate Brian Blessed, but it helps.
I mean, if you want to impersonate Brian Blessed, all you need to do is get into a fight with a polar bear.
His voice, in that case.
I mean, if you're sitting there in the North Pole and a polar bear's breaking into your tent, you probably will go like Brian Blessed when you go and punch the bear in the face. Which he did do, by the way.
Yep.
That's a fact. Look it up. Brian Blessed beat up a polar bear. You do not fuck with King of the Hawkmen.
Just so.
Oh, a bunch of you listening are probably thinking, who the fuck's King of the Hawkmen? It's like, go watch Flash Gordon, you uncultured swines.
Mate, I've never seen Flash Gordon. It was before my time. I know the meme.
Go watch it, you uncultured swine.
I'll see if I can find the time.
But going back to scripts and rewriting audio dramas to be like books, I just want to give massive props to James Swallow for basically like writing all of the Garrow audio dramas as an actual novel.
Yeah, fair play to James Swallow for that.
Fair play to you, mate. Fair play. So, previously on the Book of Recap with Blood of the Emperor, Horus was a Pokemon, Leon Russ was a dog, and Magnus was a prick.
Accurate, and accurate.
To sum up this, some of the last 3 stories, Robodon is a prick.
Accurate.
Alfarius is sneaky.
Super accurate.
And 2 members of the Death Guard ask each other, are we the baddies?
Yes.
So, let's start with Will of the Legion, which is the Imperial Fists focused story.
Yeah, I put a spoiler up on the last episode. It's up to you if you think it needs one here.
I just died.
Okay, right, I'll cover. So, yes, this is a good time while Remleiz is being afflicted by Nurgle because he made a joke about the Death Guard. If you wish to skip ahead, check the description there. There will hopefully be a timestamp if there are any spoilers that you need to avoid.
And that's how I died.
Don't make jokes about Death Guard, kids.
No. Oh god, I'm just reminded about bouncing with Eye Patch Wolf when he was complaining about Dell, and then he gets a phone call saying, "Hello, we're from Dell, we've been monitoring your Twitter thread." And he hasn't said anything since. Anyway, Will of the Legion. The Imperial Fists are facing off against a separatist human civilization who don't want to be brought into compliance. As you do. Further, much of the story focuses on Hashin Yanad. For those Imperial Fists aficionados, you might remember him for the fact that he was the guy who brought Necromunda into compliance. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so this human civilization is like living on a bunch of like in the middle of an asteroid field, like on like specially converted asteroids.
Cool.
And they've been raiding Imperial Fists because like they're like, no, we don't want to be part of your Imperium. Fuck off. We're going to raid you and take your stuff.
Don't
they've
poke
been waging
the
this war
eagle.
against.
Just word of advice to non-compliant societies: don't poke the eagle. You might not notice you're there if you don't poke them.
More to the point, don't poke the fist.
Very true.
So Robodon is basically getting very, very, very pissed off about this. And so he orders for the Imperial Fist to mobilize and go to like the capital asteroid. But only the Astartes. No Imperial army. Only the Astartes. And Hashinad's like, it's a bit weird. Why only Space Marines? A bit weird.
My guess is they don't want the humans to see what they're about to do.
Yes and no. So as the Imperial Fists make quote-unquote planetfall, I don't know what else to call it. You can't really call it asteroid fall, can you?
No.
They make planetfall, and they're basically giving orders from Dawn, like, into their helmet data, say, right, go here, go that, take this, take that. And Yanad's squad's basically giving orders, you are to go to this building and capture it. What's this building? Oh, it contains the asteroid's life support. And atmospheric integrity shields.
Ah, he's playing that card.
Yeah, so they go there, they do what they're told, kill everyone in their way, and they're like, why can't you just be compliant? Please just be compliant. They capture the building, order the tech marines to go up and start tinkering with the machines, and other parts of the world they start tinkering with the machines, until all the atmospheric processors and atmospheric integrity shields are connected to this one terminal. Everything's connected to this one terminal. And then Robodon basically broadcasts a message to the Separatists through the speaker helms of every single Imperial Fist. You will submit and you will be compliant in like 5 seconds, or I'm turning off your atmospheric shields and you're basically, all your atmosphere is going into space. And Yashinad's like, don't do that, Dad. That's a bit of a dick move. He's like, 5, 4, 3, 2, they're surrendering. It's like, good. To which Hashin basically says, like, I was going to follow those orders, but do we really have to follow their orders because they're a commander, or are we programmed to follow their orders because they're our Primarchs? Interesting thought for the day.
Yes. Do Space Marines have free will?
Basically, yeah.
The answer is no, by the way.
Unless you're Garvey or Logan.
I mean, even then, the answer is still kind of no. Like, if in terms of like what we would class as free will, like they don't. They.
I mean, in fairness, Logan did turn around and tell Malkador to piss off. Not many people can do that.
No, absolutely not. But in general, like he's the exception that proves the rule, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough. So next story, Council of Truth.
Oh, does the Imperial Fist story literally just ended? I'm not going... Sorry, thank you for your compliance. Bye. Are we the bad guys? It just ends there.
Pretty much.
Not even Dawn just like, I wasn't actually going to do it. I just needed them to get this over with because I'm sick of losing my fleet. No, Dawn is just a massive dick. Fair enough.
He's basically like, yep, I knew you'd be compliant. I knew you'd comply. Because I was going to kill you all. So, this amuses me, Father.
Right, on to Alfarius doing Alfarius things.
Yes, so, on his ship, I've forgotten if it was the Alpha or the Beta. I can't remember the name of the Alpha Legion ships. I really just recently read the fucking story.
Well, they have both, anyway, so yeah.
That's true. But yeah, Alfarius is basically being interrogated by 3 members of his Legion because in a recent compliant, Rabute Gilliman basically turned around and said, you should basically have all your troops submit to me because you can't do this compliance shit properly because you're too busy being sneaky and over-elaborate when you can just go in there and kick someone in the face.
Even though at some point in the Great Crusade, Alfarius will completely prove Gilliman wrong by outsmarting the bejesus out of a planet, conquering the whole thing without pretty much a shot being fired, and Gilliman's just in a bit of a huff and pretty much storms off.
Yeah. And basically this interrogation is Alfarius basically has to justify to his Legion, are your tactics actually valid? And basically we get like a little interspersed thing of flashback scenes of the recent compliance, human civilization, blah, blah, blah. Alpha Legion doing all this sneaky shit like, oh, we're going to sneak into the city, plant a few bombs here, destroy all the watchtowers, which house all the soldiers, but except for 2, I was like, did they deliberately miss those? It was like, oh, were they dud explosives? Well, I guess we'll be ready for those damn Space Marines next time, lads. Ho ho! Little do they realise that's been setting up a trap for later. As you do.
Yeah.
And the basic gist of the story is like, yeah, we're sneaky. This is how we were sneaky. We snuck in. We blew up these little bits of the city and then allowed our entire army to basically storm in, completely massacre the armies while some other members of the Legion, disguised as like these Ogren bodyguards, snuck into the HQ and basically massacred all the officers.
Right.
It's like, who are you though? It's like, oh, I'm Alfarius, blam. And then like at the end, basically got like the members of the Alpha Legion going, okay, that is acceptable. Goodbye, Alfarius. 2 leave, 1 stays, takes off his hands, was like, that was a good job, brother. Thanks, brother.
So Omegon's just playing the chief interrogator to prove a point.
Pretty much.
Just like, yeah, I'm so sneaky, I can pretend to interrogate myself. I'm so good at my fucking job.
It's just, yeah. So yeah, Alpha Legion, sneaky. Who would have thought?
Absolutely.
The last story, even though it's basically described as being a Mortarian story, it's more focused on 2 members of the Death Guard, a Devastator and, it's not really a Devastator, it's more of, what are they called?
Heavy Weapons Trooper? No.
Well, those specialist,
Destroyer.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
But they've got the ones, they're not the heavy weapons destroyers, they're, heavy infantry, but they've got, mobile infantry weapons.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. So you got Destroyer and the Apothecary of the Death Guard on Terra during a siege. It starts off with like Destroyer puking in his helmet, and the Apothecary coming along, like just like draining it.
Lovely.
As you do, it's like, can you see better now? It's like, yes, my face isn't swimming in vomit. Thank you. And no, sorry, no, my mistake. The Apothecary's also got a heavy weapon for some reason. It's a regular Death Guard and Apothecary with a heavy weapon. Yeah.
Sure.
That's why I confused it with a Destroyer. Anyway, so going along, just casually killing people, blowing up a tower, taking a shit ton of heavy fire. It's like, I don't feel it anymore because all I feel is pain and pus and vomit and icky sticky stuff. And after they've only got the vaguest idea what to do in regards to their orders because they don't actually have a steady stream of orders. They just basically got go here and they have to work out what to do from there.
Right.
Because all the communication in orbit has basically been fucked.
Yep.
And basically, they go into the tower, clear off of Imperial Army, and they have a bit of a sit down and a bit of a chat, just casually. And it is basically are we the baddies? And I was like, I'm just doing what I'm told, and steps on someone's head. But then shortly after that, Mortarian turns up in a very diseased-looking Thunderhawk. As you do.
As you would after you've been got by Nurgle, yes.
Yeah. Now, Mortarian says something quite interesting. Because this is pretty much immediately after his ascension to Demonhood after arriving on Terra. Because And he mentions how since ascending to Demonhood, he's basically become infinite. He now has no beginning and no end. And he now has memories of events that happened before he was born and memories of events that have yet to happen. Now, as we know, because, in the warp, and demons, the perception of time is all fucked, because time goes forward, backwards, standstills, and bends all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because the warp. Which makes me think, Mortarian gets all his memories, I was like, what's this? Oh, I remember fighting Gilliman. What do you mean he just kicked my ass? What do you mean it doesn't happen for another 10,000 years?
Yes, I remember you telling me about this at some point. Yes, you told me about this.
And it basically ends with Mortarian saying, we will endure the end. So, yeah. This anthology's... Out of the three, Primarch-focused anthologies we've had, this one I'd probably say is the weakest.
Yeah, we've been talking about it, and we've got weirdness with Horus, Russ being weird, Magnus and Dawn being outright evil, Alfarius doing what he does, and Mortarian showing up for a cameo.
Sorry, you cut out when you said Mortarian.
Mortarian just cameoing, just popping in, saying a few spiely bits, and leaving.
Pretty much, yeah.
Certainly, aside from Horus being a Pokemon, there's nothing major here. Admittedly, there was an honourable head desk at Magnus making his own mini Nikea. What a hypocrite. But
it's almost like everyone in the Horus heresy is a fucking hypocrite. Hi, Space Wolves, Rune Priest, we're not psychers, despite totally using psychic powers. We're not hypocrites, because we're blessed by the sacred spirits of Fenris.
Demons.
Which are warp entities, which are basically demons. And the trials of Morkai, hey, you have to submit to temptation of the Chaos Gods. But no, not warp entities, we're not Maleficarum. So fuck you, Othere, Weird Make, bastard. I'm glad you died.
Yeah, I don't like Weird Make.
So Weird Make, more like Piss Take. Oh! But in fairness, it was going to be hard to top the last anthology when we actually had, that story, hey, this is what happens to the Lost Primarchs. You weren't going to top that.
No, that whole stuff with the Lost Primarchs, and that was the one where Malkador force choked Horus, right? Malkador did the force choke on Horus.
No, that was Last Council. That was a short story. That wasn't in the anthology.
Ah, right. Sorry.
The Lost Primarch one was the one where Dawn's busy fortifying the palace. It's like, oh, I just found the bedrooms of the Lost Primarchs. Malcador, why is this region surrounded by a shit ton of psychic mines? It's like, but we don't want anyone going near it, do we?
These aren't just regular mines. These are psychic mines.
Like, they're literally, like, invisible and only psychics can see them, and then, like, they run towards you and go boom. It's like the spider mines from Killzone, basically, but invisible and psychic.
30k just works on Looney Tunes logic. It really does. Like, I know 40k does, but 30k really just works on Looney Tunes logic. Like, whatever you need, there is just a gadget for it, or a psychic power for it, or something for it, because it's the Imperium at the height of its power. Of course it can do it.
But the real big thing, the real big takeaway from that particular story is, like, we actually did get confirmation that the Space Marines of the Lost Legions did get integrated into the Ultramarines. That was direct confirmation.
Yes, I remember now.
Well, the Ultramarines and the Imperial Fists.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
But yeah, considering that the Ultramarines got the massive swelling more, it's like, it's probably bulk of it just went to the Ultramarines, because, like, we had, like, most of the 2nd Legion still around, didn't go to the Ultramarines, and we got, like, about 6 people from the 11th Legion. I kind of fuck off join the Imperial Fists, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's going to remember you. The Imperial Fists are going to be rendered extinct in M32 anyway, and have to be reborn.
Yeah, absolutely. Although that would be, it would be quite funny.
Which does mean that the modern day Imperial Fist chapter is actually a 4th founding chapter, not a 1st founding one, because the 1st founding Imperial Fist was destroyed.
Yeah, it would have been quite funny. Like, wasn't there like one sole survivor of the Imperial Fists?
There was one survivor, and he got killed.
It would have been nice if the last Imperial Fist was actually of the 11th Legion, just by complete fluke. So the last of the first generation of Imperial Fist, he wasn't even an Imperial Fist, was he? No.
Nah.
I know that wasn't the case because it was 1,000 years later.
He was Greg's Legion. He was Greg.
Yeah, I know it was 1,000 years later, so it wouldn't add up. But it'd been quite funny if the last of the first chapter of Dawn was actually not even his Legion to begin with. That would have been funny. Oh,
speaking of which, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard some people say that another piece of evidence supporting the fact that the Soul Drinkers are not Imperial Fist successor chapters, apart from that last book saying outright that they're not Imperial Fists, is that in one of the books of the Soul Drinker series, one of the Soul Drinkers ends up using a Susan membrane.
Which the Imperial
an organ that the Imperial Fists do not have.
Yeah, they can't do it. They've got no Betras and no Susan, right?
Exactly. Now, I know some people have said, like, but what about in the War of the Beast? Because some Imperial Fists use Susan membranes there. It's like, yes, but that's like before their gene seed degraded, because it's like only 1,000 years removed from the heresy.
And had to be completely rebuilt from scratch.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the reason they had the Susan membrane back in like M32. But in 40k, there's no reason for them to have the Susan membrane.
No.
Because they can't have it.
Absolutely.
So there you go. I still like the idea that they're actually Alpha Legion and that the Soul Spear is actually the Pale Spear of Alfarius. Considering that the Soul Spear is like, oh yes, Robodon took it from a lifeless world. Where was the Pale Spear last? It was on the lifeless world of Pluto.
I mean... Yeah.
And Dawn did kill Alfarius, so...
I suppose anything is possible.
Except for the idea of the Black Templars being the 2nd Legion. Entirely.
Yeah, no. There's no way that...
I know some people like that idea, but it's like, no, there's way too many holes in that theory.
There's no way that the first captain of a legion would be from another legion that was rendered extinct for some unknowable crime. Like, no. And
let's be honest, like, even though the Space Marines of the Lost Legions did get integrated into the Imperial Fists and in the Ultramarines, there's no guarantee that they actually kept their original progenoids. They could have had them surgically removed and replaced with like ones of their new legion. Because, like, with the Grey Knights, with the founding members of the Grey Knights, they were all different legions. Like with Epimetheus, for example, he was originally a Dark Angel. Epimetheus outright states in Pandorax that when he joined the Grey Knights, he had his progenoids surgically removed and replaced with new ones.
Yes, it's been a while since I've read Pandorax, so I couldn't remember that. But yeah, that makes sense.
So, because of that, if the Imperium wanted to get rid of all evidence pertaining to the Lost Legions, why would they let a shit ton of warriors keep their original Lost Legion gene seed? They're like, nah, give him Gilliman's stuff.
Yeah, like you're just diluting the gene pool for the next wave of recruits as well.
Exactly. And considering that we don't know what the Lost Legions, Lost Primarchs were basically gotten rid of for, because Sanguinius implies it was due to some weird genetic thing, because that's why he was scared to tell Dad about the Red Thirst. Like, because if I tell the Emperor about this, then I'm going to have an empty spot in the hegemon. So
yeah. It
could be anything. It could be due to treason. It could be due to genetic mutation. It could be due to the fact that one decided to shack up with Xenos and go, "Nah, Dad, I'm going to go fuck this space elf." They realised that Gilliman would do so 10,000 years later. I'm not sure if you're employing me or trying to do a substitute for head desking.
No, that was head desk.
Ah.
But
I'm going to take it as applause because it sounded like an applause.
If you wish. But to be fair, I can understand, though the evidence of being destroyed for genetic mutation is not really as... It doesn't hold up as well as you'd think. Because...
No, because of Magnus.
Magnus for one, and the Third Legion for the other.
In fairness with the Third Legion, though, their gene flaw was artificially introduced by the Sunnar because they were pissed off.
I mean, yes, absolutely.
And when they reunited with Fulgrim, they could get a fresh batch, so that worked out for them.
True, but the Third Legion would have died were it not for finding Fulgrim. And to be fair, it's not. And the flesh change went away because when Magnus came back, not obviously for reasons that are the same as Fulgrim's, but it went away for a good long time. So they wanted the 15th destroyed. The Emperor didn't do it. He could have done, but he didn't. So I don't know.
I need him to power the chair.
Yes. So to be honest, if you want Magnus to be your big space battery, you're honestly better destroying his Legion first. Just have him travel with the Emperor alone, explore the galaxy, explore the great work with him together, so that he'd be willing to take his place on the Golden Throne without having seen any of the other stuff. Surely. If your entire purpose in life is to turn Magnus into your giant red human space battery, then you don't let him go on crusade where he might die and absorb the knowledge of the universe and the warp. You'd guide his education. You'd introduce him to what you want him to see so that he'd want to take up that mantle. You'd show him glimpses of what the Chaos Gods can do and why they must be stopped. You'd show him the potential of the webway. You wouldn't just say, "Here, son, go and conquer stuff. By the way, you better not use any of those prodigious psychic powers I warned you about."
Do you know what?
Anything like that.
It reminds me of that comic Wib did ages ago.
The I Just Don't Trust You one.
That was the Horus one. Magnus, you are the most powerful psychers in existence. You could do all this and all that, but don't do it again.
It's only cool when I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's accurate.
God, he made that back in 2012. Jesus Christ. We're so old.
I love how it's copyright 2012 Matt Ward, not that one. I love how it's copyrighted it that way.
Well, he did say that he did get a bunch of abusive emails one time because everyone thought he was the other Matt Ward.
But it's not copyright his DeviantArt handle or Wib. It's copyright Matt Ward, not that one.
Oh, well.
Yeah, not knocking it. But anyway, that is the latest Primarch anthology in the records. So what's on the agenda next, I suppose, is the big question.
Well, I'm currently in the midst of reading through Firecast.
Oh, yes, the Peter Feovari one. Yeah,
and can I just say, without going into too many details regarding the plot so far, Jesus fucking Christ, this book is bleak. It's honestly one of the most depressing fucking books I've read so far. And I've read 15 hours.
I mean, it has been now about 8 years since I did it when I was in year 12 for my A-level English. Or my AS level English, I say. I didn't get an A level in English. But I do remember it not being particularly pro-yay humans or
it's not pro-yay anyway. Everyone's fucking miserable and basically cannon fodder, regardless of your human towel, loxatl, vespid, crude, fungus, or giant face-eating spider. The only bit of levity I've really found in it so far was the steampunk knight with the heavy stubber blasting away a vespid while playing loud music from his speakers, which I'm interpreting as Flight of the Valkyries. Just so you can go like, ba 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 ba.
Yeah, I know Ride of the Valkyries, yes.
Yeah. Just like, that's like the only bit of levity I can find in this entire fucking book so far.
Which is interesting because we've talked before about, like, the balance of grimdark versus humor. Actually, we talked about this last episode with the Gate of Bones and, like, the Emperor's Holy Bleep and all that, and just those light moments of levity in what is, to be fair, quite a seriously written book. Like, the characters are written very straight, very seriously. There are moments of banter, I guess, but they're very rare, and it's custodian banter. Custodian banter is not funny.
No.
And banter between an uncle and his niece, who are both night pilots, is interesting. It's not funny. It's interesting, but it's not funny. I genuinely only laughed at the book once. And yet I found it ridiculously engaging without the humour. And yet we talk about, like, Empire of Lies and Crisis of Faith, where, as great as the Farsight story is, I remember absolutely cracking up every time the orcs were on screen. So it's like, can you write a book that is entirely grimdark without any levity whatsoever and make it work?
I'm going to say, in the case of Peter Veyavari, yes, you can.
Yes, fair enough.
I don't know how the man manages to do it, but he can make something so grimdark without it going into grimderp territory. He can make stuff that's generally, like, unsettling and upsetting, but you still want to read more.
Yeah, because...
Like, it's I suppose, like, he's like the crack of authors. As in, like, you know, it's absolutely damaging for you and it's going to do a whole bunch of horrible shit to you, but you keep wanting more. Just like crack.
If there are any students watching...
Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids. Absolutely. But yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned 15 hours, because I've not read 15 hours. And yet...
That book was depressing as fuck as well.
I'm trying to remember who wrote 15 hours now.
Oh, God, it was...
Actually, it was in the Humble Bundle, wasn't it? I'm going to go and have a look.
Yeah.
Give me a minute. It was Mitchell Scanlon.
I know that name from somewhere. What else has he done?
Now you're asking.
Oh God, Mitchell Scanlon, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. Oh God. Yeah. It's his fault. He did Descent of Angels. Bastard.
I thought that was Gav Thorpe.
No. He didn't do that one. No, Mitchell Scanlon did Descent of Angels.
Ah. Right.
I think Gav did Angels of Caliban. I'm trying to find out who did Fallen Angels then. Fallen Angels was God, Black Library needs to sort out your fucking search function better. Jesus fucking Christ. It is horrible at times. Like, I type in Fallen Angels to search for the book Fallen Angels, and it comes up with fucking Darkness in the Blood. It's like, no. It's Blood Angels, but no fucking Fallen Angels. Jesus Christ.
Mike Lee? Yeah, Mike Lee.
Yeah, Mike Lee, yeah. Has he actually written anything else on Black Library? I've never even heard that guy's name before.
I love how we just got a complete rabbit hole of just finding authors now.
Oh, apparently he did one of the Nagash books. And some Crimson Fist stories. Okay. Oh, so he wrote the Nagash novels. Okay. Fair enough. I've not read the Nagash novels, so I can't tell you what they're like. But hey. Like the Rise and Origins of Nagash and all that. which does sound like a really interesting story, like him as a Nehekaran Lich Priest to like Supreme Lord of the Undead.
So he's written Legacy of Dawn.
Yeah, the Crimson Fist story, yeah.
Yeah. Traitor's Gorge.
That's not a Crimson Fist one, isn't it?
It's a novella from 5 years earlier. There's The Emperor's Chosen. Yeah, so Traitor's Gorge was a Crimson Fist one. The Emperor's Chosen. Nope, that's The Emperor's Gift you're thinking of, Tactica. It is a Black Templars short.
So still Dornian. Okay, we're still on a roll.
We've got Wolf at the Door from Tales of Heresy.
Oh, and he also did a couple of the Malice Darkblade stories as well.
Malice Edgelord.
Yeah. Lord of Ruin and Warp Sword. And Bloodstorm and Demon's Curse. Yeah, I think he did the entire series, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we could basically just make an episode of just doing like who wrote what and what else did they write. It's just like there's an authors association.
Welcome to a new episode of Who Wrote What? Who wrote this book? I don't know. Well, let's have a look at their bibliography.
Yeah, absolutely. Could be a fun little quiz that we do for the viewers one day. Who wrote this and name one of the book they wrote and just make it into something for them.
That reminds me of like a quiz thing I used to do in one of the Discord servers. Yeah, I think it was actually an Alexis server back in the day. But basically, like, someone would be giving away a game, and they had to ask questions, and the questions were like, what Space Marine chapter is this? And I know some people would like click the picture to try and get the file name, because when I was the one asking the questions, I'd put like a picture of like the Absolvers chapter, really obscure one. So, which chapter is this? And I named the file name saying, "This ain't gonna help you, bitch."
Evil. I'm just looking at Peter Feovari's resume now. The other thing I've read of his is Adeptus Mechanicus Vanguard, of course. Yes, I've read that.
You cut out completely. I didn't hear what you said, sorry.
Adeptus Mechanicus Vanguard. So there's the two Adeptus Mechanicus shorts together in a novel, and he wrote the Vanguard one with the Scutarius. That was quite good. Genius to the Cults novel, The Greater Evil. Oh, I feel like I know that one.
That's the one with the Tau Gene Stealer cults.
Yes.
And it ends with the baby hybrid. It's like, oh, he's only like 11 days old, but he's so big. And it's like, that's fucked up.
Yeah. Requiem Infernal, that was him.
Yeah, that was a really good novel, that was. Really. I'm still surprised that book wasn't released under Warhammer Horror. Because that was just a straight up like horror story. It was like some proper Silent Hill shit in that book.
He does have a Warhammer novel, horror novel, though. The Reverie, The Angels Resplendent.
Yeah, Requiem Infernal also had the feature of the Angels Resplendent. That's like his signature chapter. Angels Resplendent also being the Angels Penitent after they changed their name after, like, they found Jesus. Essentially.
Okay. And Fire and... Oh, I haven't read this one. Fire and Ice, a short story with the Tau.
He did a few Tau short stories, like Outcast and Sanctuary of Worms.
On an Imperial world torn apart by rivalries and influence of the Tau and its pernicious greater good, an interrogator pursued by the Inquisition, still set on defeat the Tau, yada yada yada. Okay, that doesn't sound as interesting as I thought it did, because it's got Farsight on the front cover. And yet... Oh, I sincerely hope that has got something to do with Commander Farsight in that. Oh, it's from the Chasseau anthology, which I never got round to reading. I swear I own that. Never mind.
Do.
No, I own the Tau Empire anthology, not Chasseau.
Okay. But yeah, the story Outcast that actually focuses on the Tau from Firecast, Chikara.
Ah, right.
The one that's got like the scarred face, and the Pathfinders.
It's been 8 years, Rem.
Yeah.
I'm not going to remember it that well, unfortunately.
All I remember about that particular story is like it's basically her contemplating turning to the worship of Khorne, basically.
Fair enough.
Oh, what was the story of his that had the Tau Skitarii? I've forgotten the name of it.
So there's Nightfall.
Was it Vanguard?
Vanguard, no, there's no Tau in that. They're fighting Dark Mech in that. There's Nightfall, Sanctuary of Worms, Outcast, Firecast, Crown of Thorns, Greater Evil, Genius of the Cults, Requiem Infernal, Nightbleed, The Reverie, and Fire and Ice listed on Lexicanum. Not Nightfall. That looks like that's a Marine story. Sanctuary of Worms, maybe.
I'm not sure. I know there was a story that had a Skitari Tau. I just can't remember the name of the bloody. Is it Sanctuary of Worms? Because someone's posted an excerpt from it.
It could be Actually, you might be right that it is Adeptus Mechanicus Vanguard, and I'm getting it mixed up with I'm getting it mixed up with Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarius. Sorry. Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarius is, I think it's Andy Chambers. I think. So yes, Vanguard does involve the Tau. Yes, you are right.
Right.
Where the Magos is called Caul, but it's Caul instead of Cawl. So
right.
So there's a guy called Caul before Caul was Caul.
He was called.
Oh, Rob Sanders, not Andy Chambers. Sorry, that was Skitarius. My bad.
Right. But yeah, completely unrelated to this, but at some point I still need to read through Silent Hunters. You know, that Kakarodon Drukari novel.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, because I've seen some people saying on Twitter apparently it's been a very divisive book. Like some people like it and some people absolutely hate it. And it's
the Kakarodons.
Really? Yeah, but everyone loves the Kakarodons though. Those crazy space sharks, everyone loves them. I'm just finding it weird that it's having such a divisive opinion. Because I've not read any of Eduardo Albert's stories, so I can't really say what he's like as an author.
No, I can't say I have.
Oh well.
Another one to get round to, I guess.
Maybe after I finish Firecast, if I can get through this crippling depression that this book's bringing on me.
Yeah, I can't decide whether I want to carry on reading Covens of Blood, dive into Stormvault, or The End of Enlightenment, because I haven't really got any 40k fiction that I haven't read. Because all the best books that have been coming out recently, or a lot of them have been coming out recently, have been AOS. So I kind of want to just dive into some more AOS fiction.
Fair enough.
But we'll see how we go.
Oh, that's what I need to check if there's any updates on the Black Library Coming Soon page. And, no. Oh, that being said, at time of recording, the next bunch of books in the Horus Heresy print on demand is going live tomorrow, Saturday the 24th. So I think it'll be made available for 2 weeks, like last time, so...
Right. I know Mortis is on general release now.
Yeah. So basically, if you want hardback versions of Legacies of Betrayal, Deathfire, War Without End, Pharos, and Die of Terror, now's your chance.
Up.
Yeah. You got 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks if the last few times were print on demand have been anything to go by.
Yeah, and we don't know yet, obviously, because we're recording before that information.
And we don't want another, certain debacle, and we bring it full fucking circle.
Well played.
Is it time for questions?
Yeah, because I think we've just killed in a half hour just rambling about authors. So I think let's do some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, there weren't a huge amount. There's a lot of good comments, but not many actual questions this week.
Okay.
So where was one? This is a really nice one, considering it's just the two of us. What extremely obscure aspects of 40k do you wish there was more information on? For example, the full rules of regicide.
Isn't that just chess?
I mean, yes, broadly. It's just is there any particular... that was just the example that this commenter gave.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, there's a few events that were mentioned that I would like to see. Like in some of the broad books, you get on a time this event. This is the name of the event, but we don't know nothing about the event. The Year of Ghosts, for example, not to be confused with the War of Ghosts that the Kakarodons took part in. The Year of Ghosts was literally just the Honored Dead rose to fight for the Imperium, and that's literally all we know. Was it zombies, Ghost Legion of the Damned, or just a shit ton of dreadnoughts?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good one. I admit I'm not as deep, really, as I used to be into the obscure parts of the lore to really know what I should be calling for. Like, I want to know about some things that GW have kept deliberately obscure, like a bit more about the Age of Strife or the Unification Wars.
Or whether Cursed City was a mass release or limited run.
That's not obscure. But I don't know. I think if there's one thing that I'd love to hear a little bit more about, it's about the non-compliant human cultures. Like, we know fragments about the Interrex and bits like that, but I'd love to see what kind of a go of it humanity made before the Imperium came along. So, like, what was their... How did they come to settle there? Why did they settle there? How did they establish their colonies? How did they expand? What was their system of government? What were their sort of issues day to day? What was their society like? What was their religion? Whether it was chaos or not. I'd just like to know more about these like subcultures that the Imperium just bulldozed its way over. And that includes the techno-barbarians, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry,
you were going to say something. I cut you off.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I'd like to see some more stuff detailing the cybernetic revolt, just so I can see... I want to see Games Workshop trying to do something different, like trying to make it a bit more distinct than from, like, say, you know, the Butlerian Jihad of Dune. You know, aside from the fact that it's just robots rebelling against their masters, what can they do to make it more distinct and unique to them than, you know, Dune? That's probably just me being like, you know, trying to make a bit of too much of a challenge or something, I don't know. But I would like to see some more information regarding the Montau, you know, the Death Age.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, how... Like, there's a period of time where, you're right, Tau society expands, goes into a death... Well, what they now consider a death spiral. It probably wasn't a death spiral.
It was basically like a four-way war, wasn't it?
It was a dark age, to be sure. It was like, it's kind of like their equivalent of our dark ages, where society falls apart somewhat and it's warring tribes fighting each other for land and resources. Yeah, it's a dark age, but it wasn't a death age. It wasn't going to lead to a mass extinction because they hadn't developed nukes or anything like that.
No. They just call it the Death Age, though. They
do, because that's basically ethereal propaganda. Didn't
they have black powder weapons back then?
They did. The Earthcast did, or what became the Earthcast did. Most of them didn't, but the Theo did.
Right.
But like I say, like the idea of the Montau having a death age is just ethereal propaganda. It's like, we can't get rid of the ethereals or we'll all have problems. Please, nobody look at the Farsight Enclaves. So, yeah, I think the Montau will be really interesting, and sort of the revolution in society that happened as the ethereals came along. Like, how quick was it? Was it everyone came on board? What happened to those who dissented? Were there any dissenters and all that? The other, yeah, that sort of period, like the end of the Montau and the beginning of the ethereal age. That would be really good. I like that.
Mm.
And Exodites, of course.
Yeah, because I think the last time we actually had an Exodite story was...
They should have been the Infinite and Divine.
I mean, one where they're like the protagonists, I mean.
Has there ever been one apart from like Path of the Exodite?
The Karnak campaign. I think.
Karnak campaign.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what that was.
It was like a novella.
I feel like Karnak was like where they did the flyer release, and it was Necrons versus Orcs versus Space Marines Karnak.
Yeah, it's like Spirit War, Night Spear, and Sky Hunter. I think the stories on that.
I do not remember that in the slightest.
I'll be honest, I only learned about the book because I saw someone posting a picture on Facebook. It's like, I have not heard of this book. I'm going to buy it. Oh, it's shit.
Dear, oh dear.
That's why I've not heard of it. It's not that good. Yeah, because that had that weird story of like, oh yes, these Eldari jets, they have a weapon that works by ripping the soul out of your bodies. Let's use it on Necrons. It works just fine.
Wait, that's Graham Lyon's name attached to that.
Yep.
Well, I suppose writing weird Eldar shit isn't just Gav Thorpe's purview.
I have to remember who actually did Skyhunter. Yeah, Skyhunter was Graham Lyon, yeah. That was definitely him.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right. Here's one. Do you think that they will eventually try to make Bjorn the Fell-Handed into a Primaris? Or maybe retire him out of the setting via a heroic last stand? Or is he just going to stick around forever?
It's Bjorn, he'll stick around forever.
Yeah, as a comment replied to it saying, like, Bjorn will probably survive until Russ comes back and has a father-to-son chat with him.
Sorry, you cut out.
Says there's enough of him. I don't think there's enough left to cross the Rubicon. Also, Bjorn will survive until Russ comes back and they have a father-to-son chat.
That does remind me of, like, I think it was in Spear of the Emperor that someone suffered wounds that were so severe that not even going into a dreadnought would save them, but crossing the Rubicon Primaris would. Which didn't make sense to me. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I might be misremembering.
No, that's right. That's right. It was Master Lazarus, I think.
Lazarus, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Oh, the Dark Angel, yeah. Right.
The guy
I was misremembering things, yeah. Right. So, I remember the event right, just the wrong fucking book. Right. Yeah, I don't really struck me as weird. It's like, because then, like, Dreadnought is like the last ditch survival method because you have to be plugged into a life support system with guns. It's like, you're too far gone for that. Don't worry. Sticking 3 new organs in you, you'll be fine. Even though wouldn't, like, the trauma from that kill him? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a doctor. I can't say for certain. Something magnets, how do they work?
I'm literally teaching magnets at the moment, so...
Well, how do they work?
Fields creating attractive and repulsive forces. Simple enough.
And people say you don't learn anything on these shows.
Do you remember the episode with Narina and stuff where I literally went on a 20-minute teaching tangent?
Oh, God, yeah, I just remember that now, yeah.
Yeah, you do occasionally learn something on this show.
I think I must have tuned out.
Well, yeah, you said, yeah, that's about right.
Could be
right. So, this is an interesting one. What would happen if a member of the Fallen successfully corrupted a convent or a few members of the Sororitas, and both the Loyalist Sisters and the Loyalist Angels found out? Since the Dark Angels are going to want to suppress the knowledge of the Fallen, the Sisters are going to want to suppress any knowledge of Chaos Corruption in their ranks, and they're not going to want each other to find out. Are we going to end up having like a 3-way Fallen Sisters versus Dark Angels versus Sisters? Or would they just like yeah, our bad, we had a bad guy, and yeah, we've got some bad guys. Should we just deal with this and then never speak of this again? Yes, let's.
It might be the latter, in fairness, considering, like, if anything to go by with, like, do you remember War of Secrets? Like, when they made that deal with the Tau? It's like, hey, there's some Fallen here, but this is, like, on one of our successor chapters' homeworld, so we can't go around killing civilians, because they'll blame us. But since you're filthy Xenos, can you do it? And we'll kill your infected gay Vaser? Okay, thanks.
True, yeah. War of Secrets definitely did do that.
I thought you were going to say War of Secrets was definitely a book.
It did that, yes.
In fairness, regardless of all the shit people give that book, I just want to point out that Kais was fucking awesome in that book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, Okais is the best thing about that book.
Especially when he goes on this one-man rampage in that Fortress Monastery at the end with the Ghost Keel. That was fucking awesome.
It's like, a Tau being a badass? What is this? Oh, it's Phil Kelly. That explains everything.
I mean, in fairness, it's also Kais, the third member of the Trinity.
Oh, absolutely, but what have the other two done? Farsight flew a cold star through the cold void of space and wrecked a Gellerfield generator all on his own, as you do, and Kais
Shadow's son had hallucinations about her unborn dead baby. That was in her novella.
I know.
It was weird.
I'm just trying to come up with a witty retort of Shadow's son doing something badass, but unfortunately Phil Kelly hasn't written her yet. So...
No, he has in the Farsight books. When Farsight tried to get all affection and she said, "Stop that! It's embarrassing."
Yes, true. But yes,
I imagine it sounding like Jade from Shadow Raiders. If anyone remembers that cartoon from back in the day, you're awesome.
No,
of course you were. You're too bloody young for this shit.
Accurate. But yes, certainly there has been a bit of one-upmanship between Kais and Shova without really realising it. I flew a battlesuit through the void of space and blew up a Gellerfield. Sucker, I went and did an entire rampage through a giant pile of Astartes in a stealth suit. Do you have a stealth suit? No, I'm a master of Montcar. I don't do stealth. I come in and I smash your face. Mate, I'm a monad. I am literally a one-man wrecking crew. Get out of my way. Well,
and I haven't slept in 500 years. Because my stasis pod was fucked, so I was conscious the entire time.
To which he'll say, mate, I have a sword so... And he doesn't know about the chronophagic alloy.
No.
Damn it, my own retort just died on my lips there. Never mind. Right. So, this is someone who's asking about chaotic corruption. So... how does corruption work on a physical level? So, for example, in Dawn of War 2, I know not entirely canon representative, but go with it, guns and armour have corruption points. So, by holding an evil gun, does your soul slowly deteriorate and you therefore start hearing the whispers? Or is it that using the evil gun makes you an evil person? Now, I know what you're going to say straight away. Leia Blade.
I wasn't actually.
All right, go on then.
Using a corrupted weapon doesn't automatically mean that you are yourself corrupted. I mean, all you got to do is look at, also look at Garen Crow with the Blade of Antwer.
I mean, he has to try really hard not to get corrupted by it,
and that's like a stupidly powerful demonic entity blade, or even like Logan Grimnar. His axe was a demon weapon. It was consecrated by the Rune Priest, but still a demon weapon at the end of the day. Same with Marnie's Calgar's Power Fist. They were taken from a Chaos Champion, and he's fine. As far as we're aware. So using a corrupted weapon in itself is not, necessary enough to succumb to corruption unless you are extremely weak-willed.
Well, actually, correction. It's not extremely weak-willed. It's you're not extremely strong-willed, because every example you just gave is a legendary Astartes.
Oh my god, Calgar and Santa Claus, yeah, okay. Point still stands, though.
It does, absolutely. However, there are instances where you don't need to use the weapon, such as I mentioned, the Blade of the Leia, which Fulgrim didn't use that much, as far as we're aware, but it gently did get in his head and is considered part of the reason why Fulgrim turned.
I mean, it was a powerful demon weapon that that Fulgrim kept around him all the time, so, yeah.
Yeah, so there are elements of, I think the holding an evil weapon causes your soul to slowly deteriorate is absolutely true.
Yeah. It's just like using it at one time is not necessarily enough to succumb to corruption that way. You can probably use it once and put it away and never use it again, you'll be fine. So,
yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's a full-blown demon weapon, then that demon will probably never leave you alone. But, yeah.
It's probably sitting there going hey, who are you betting on to win, on Sunday? Rich Swan or Kenny Omega? Hey, who are you going to win? Hey. Leave your comments down below. Who you think's going to win at Rebellion?
By the time this video is out, it's already been aired.
I don't care. It's good for the YouTube algorithm. Comment down below. Even if it's just to say something, hashtag the warp did it, that's an old throwback from back in yonder.
Very true.
You thought I was going to say the other one, didn't you?
Saying nothing. Saying nothing.
If you want to know what this hashtag was, please comment down below.
Don't you dare. Right, where was I? What minor faction would you really, really like to see finally get love for once? Like codices, novels, even not even a codex, like a novel, a novella, a model, even if it's just like a one-off. What would you really like to see?
The Hrud.
Down with that.
Just because the Hrud are a really strange and unique race of the entire 40k universe, and I'd like to see more about, like, a tabletop model for Hrud would be really interesting, I think.
Yeah, because we've had a Zote, we've had a Squat, we've had a Man of Iron, we've had a Beastman.
We had two squats. Yeah.
Yeah, Man of Iron, Beastman.
We need a Loxatl at some point as well.
And a Scaly.
We're probably going to get one when we get the Necromunda book for the Scavvy gangs. Because Scalies were part of Scavvy gangs back in the day, so they were their equivalent of the heavies or champions. So, oh god, I just remember how fucking broken the harpoon guns were. It was basically like repeater bolt throw. When it's just like, or just a bolt thrower in fantasy. There was basically just a handheld version of those. Like it'd go through ranks kind of thing.
Oh dear.
Oh, and Scalies had regenerators and ability as well, so like, they recover a lost wound on a 4+. I was like, oh, great. Fighting against them was fucking horrible.
I can imagine.
Though they did really badly against Redemptionists. Because guess what? Redemptionists use Flamers, and what do Flamers do? Cancel out regeneration.
You only know that if you're an old hand, because that went away with 8th edition fantasy.
Yes, well, this is back when Necromunda was around 4th or 5th edition fantasy, so...
Yeah. So, do you think we'll get a not Wood Elf faction for Age of Sigmar? Yep, we already do. They're called the Kenothi.
Kenothi, isn't it? Yeah.
They're going to be I think they're going to be in the Sylvaneth Battletome. I think they'll be part of the Sylvaneth army, and they'll just remake the Wood Elves. But they will exist. They do exist. They're called the Kenothi.
I mean, there's one for... is it Underworlds or Cursed City that has Kenothi ones?
Underworlds, both, actually. So Underworlds has a warband, including the Centaur Archer, and Cursed City has one Archer as well.
Right, okay.
Okay, this is a bit of an obscure one. So, in Fulgrim, the novel Fulgrim, when Horus arrived at the Orician technocracy, what would have happened if Fulgrim opened fire on his fleet? Why would he have done? I'm trying to think of the context.
Oh, that was just before... I think that was just before... just before Fulgrim joined Horus, but after Horus had, been corrupted on Davin, I think?
Yeah, so, Horus has turned, and Fulgrim knows...
yeah, if I recall correctly, I think that's what happened. It's been a while since I read the book, so... Yeah,
it's an event, it's an obscure bit within a very, very old book. But yeah, if Fulgrim just shoots Horus, then Fulgrim's dying. Fulgrim's dead at that point.
I mean, it depends if he manages to take out the Vengeful Spirit or not, but...
He ain't taking out the Vengeful Spirit.
I mean, he had his own Gloriana, didn't he? So, Gloriana versus Gloriana, it's probably going to be a fairly even fight.
But the Vengeful Spirit is also the Vengeful Spirit.
True.
I know it's not like the ultra-titanic behemoth that it is today, where it's practically invincible, but it's still the spirit, and it's still Horus, who is generally probably a better fleet commander. And bear in mind, Horus is probably not coming alone, because at this point, I think at that point, Horus didn't flip Fulgrim first. He probably flipped... Did he flip Angron first? I don't remember who he flipped
I can't remember if it was Angron or Mortarian.
But it wasn't Fulgrim. Certainly wasn't Fulgrim that he flipped first.
Because by this point, Lorgar had already fallen. He'd fallen long before Horus did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in secret.
And they had 2 Glorianas. before we say anything, they had 2.
I thought they had 3.
Was it 3?
I think there was one story where, like, because there was an audio drama, and I think like Angry Arsenal was like, "You have 2." It's like, "Oh no, I have 3."
Yeah, because there was Corphaeron's one that he used. There was Lorgar's one.
Did Erebus have his own one?
I don't think so.
Who had the third one then? I'm pretty sure Wordbearers had 3 Glorianas.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't like part of the main fleets like the other 2 were. Like, was it? No. Did they have a secret one built off like in Sol somewhere or some crap?
Let's have right. So the Dark Angels had 3. Emperor's Children had 1. Iron Warriors had 1. Scars had 1. Wolves had 1. Fists had 1. Light Lords had 1. Blenders 1. Iron Hands 1. World Eaters 1. McCrags on Ultramarines. So Sons of Horus had 2. Oh no, Wordbearers only had 2 apparently. So what was the ship that Lorgar had 3 of then?
He said, I remember there being a story where he had like a super-powered weird ship in the back pocket.
He had 3 super powerful ships, yeah. I know that. I'm trying to remember what type of ship it was then, if it's not Gloriana class. What ship was it?
Comments, you know what to do. Comment down something useful in the comments. What's this thing that we're trying to remember? It's probably from like several episodes ago. What are we on about here with this Wordbearer ship?
Was it the Abyss class battleships? Because they have 3 of them. The Furious Abyss, the Blessed Lady, and Tricyon.
Tricyon, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I think
that was the flagship of Lorgar, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, okay. The vessels were a unique configuration within the Imperium and were quite large, with even Emperor and Gloriana battleships being dwarfed by these vessels. Right, so it's the Abyss class, okay.
Right. Okay.
Wordbearers, I get an exclusive ship.
Yeah. This is why I love sometimes this being the episode with the odd one where it's the 2 of us, because we'll just go down the weirdest rabbit holes just trying to find information. That's Godzilla, based off what it said last time.
I was going to say, in regards to Godzilla, Nasir Amit killed Godzilla in Fletcher Cretaceous, so granted, he did have a Thunderhawk blow up a volcano to do it, but he killed Godzilla. That's canon. That's canon, by the way.
Yeah. Right, here's an interesting one. It wasn't typed with questions, so I didn't see it. How difficult would it be for an Imperial, like maybe an Inquisitor, a Mechanicus Magus, or someone like that, to visit Trazine's collection with the explicit purpose of sightseeing, just like we do for an average museum? No ulterior motives, they just want to come around, look at the shiny things. I don't think Trazine takes guests.
I mean, Fabius Bile tried doing that, and then after like walking in the museum a bit, oh shit, there's an entire legion of Necrons marching upon us.
Yeah, I don't think Trazine will just be quietly advertising, come to Solemnace and see all the shiny relics from throughout history. Your friends are probably in here.
In fairness, I can imagine Trazine like kidnapping like the old individuals like, hey, look at my glorious collection. Isn't it great? Great, you're joining them, bitch.
Yeah, that sounds like
I can imagine that happening with him.
Yeah, that sounds like something Trazine would do, absolutely.
It's like, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of archaeotech.
Yeah, just yoink, 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 yoink. I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one, and I want that one. That one can go. That one can be vaporized. I want that one.
I want that one. Little Britain reference. God, does anyone remember Little Britain? God, that show was shit, wasn't it?
I didn't even watch it, and I generally know the consensus is that it was garbage.
It's right, a lot of people are diehard fans of that show for some reason. I can't even believe it got a fucking PS2 game of all fucking things.
What?
Yeah, there's a Little Britain PS2 game. Don't ask me why, but probably the same reason why there's a fucking like Pop Idol game.
Dear oh dear.
Yeah, apparently it's the worst PS2 game ever made.
I'm not surprised.
And it can be yours for the low, low price of $5.99. Oh, no, if you want a brand new, it's $24.99. It's like, who the fuck would buy that shit?
I nearly said I could buy a box of Warhammer for that, and then I remembered how much my Lumineth cost.
So you could buy an entire Space Marine Librarian for that.
Yeah. So I was just about to say, I could buy 10 infantry. No, I can't. You can't buy 10 infantry for 25 quid anymore. Like, maybe Demonettes.
I remember the day where you could buy 10 infantry for a $5.
I remember
Granted, they were shitty mono-post models, but still.
I remember you could buy multi-part plastic kits for 10 models for 12 quid. Looking at you, orcs.
I remember when there was 10 models for 10 quid.
Yeah.
Back in the start. Back when you had, like, the Battle Force box that was like £40 for, like, a squad of Tactical Marines, a squad of Terminators, a squad of bikes, and a set of scenery for 40 quid.
Yeah, as I've said this before, but when I was just getting into the hobby, the Battle Force was a squad of Tactical Marines, an Assault Squad, a Rhino. I don't think you got a Scout Squad, and that was 50 quid. But the Tau one was just like the best thing ever because you got 3 battle suits, 12 Fire Warriors, 16 crew, and a Devilfish for 55 quid. It was like the best thing.
Yeah, I remember the Craftworld one for like 40 quid. It was like 20 Guardians, a Falcon Grav Tank, 3 jet bikes, and a Viper, and a set of trees.
Madness.
Oh, and also, like, I know, there's that meme going around saying things like, oh, like, this models hasn't been updated since, like, 3rd edition, and people talking about, oh, but, Guardian models have been updated since 3rd edition. It's like, I'm pretty sure most of the Firstborn Space Marine range, like the Tactical Squad and Devastator Squad, I'm pretty sure they're still the same models as the launch of 3rd edition. So they're actually older than the Guardians.
Oh, dear.
I'm pretty sure. At least I need to double check, actually. Because I know some people are going on about how, the Khorne Berserker kit's really old.
And it is.
Which it is, because that's 3rd edition. But I think that the standard Tactical Marine kit is actually older.
No, Tactical Marines got redone with all the...
Or was it a Devastator one I'm thinking of?
No, they've got all the grav weapons now. So they got updated to include all the grav weapons and stuff.
Ah, okay. I must be misthinking then.
Yeah, because when they introduced like the grav gun, they had to redo the Tactical Squad kit to incorporate the grav gun.
Right, okay. I'm misremembering then. What about the Devastator Squad?
Grav cannon.
Was it got going on? Oh, yeah. You're right, yeah. That must have been late in 7th edition when that happened. Like, really late in 7th edition.
Like, I know the model exists. Like, or have I Mandela affected myself to think that Devastators with grav cannons exist?
No, they exist. They exist.
And obviously...
But yeah, that kit must have come out in, like, really late 7th edition, because I remember looking in the Sentinels of Terror Codex, and they're still using the original Tactical and Devastator squads from 3rd edition.
Yeah, I don't know if they updated the Tactical Squad between 3rd and 7th, or 3rd and 8th, but they have done it since.
Yeah. Might be between 7th and 8th, to be honest, or between 7th
Actually,
and
no,
7th.
I stand corrected. They haven't updated any regular Marines in 8th. All the last update to regular Marines was in 7th. Right. Everything that's new for Space Marines has been Primaris.
Right.
At least I think it has. Like, they haven't redone any of the Scout stuff. They haven't redone the Rhino or Assault Squads or anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Have we got time for one more, looking at the time?
I think it's less do we have time as do we have a question.
Oh, okay.
Like I say, there's a lot of good good comments. It's just there's not a lot that were questions. Like, there's a couple, like there's one here about like Ogor tribes. There's one here about Space Wolves, but Space Wolves. It's like saying, like, do you think that the devastation of Fenris, it was like the beginning of the Wolf time, or just an excuse to give the Space Wolves Primaris without complaining?
Did they even know about the Primaris back then?
No, but like by crippling the Space Wolves, they'd be more open to accepting the Primaris reinforcement because they just need the dudes. I guess.
I'm not sure about that, personally.
No, I'm not sure either. And like, how did Gay Vesa tech priests operate? We don't know. We know nothing about Gay Vesa.
Oh, you mean human Earthcast?
That's literally what the reply comment says.
Hey, great minds.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of questions, like I say. Some really good comments and interesting discussions, but yeah, there's not many questions here this time, unfortunately.
Okay, well, in which case, there's only one thing to ask. Who do you reckon's going to win, Witch Swan or Kenny Omega?
DQ.
DQ, double DQ.
Well, I think it'll be Swan by DQ.
Okay, that seems fair, yeah.
Because Gallows and Anderson will come out, flatten Swan, and that'll be that.
And the big schmoz.
Yep, big schmoz. That's the way.
So Gallows and Anderson get involved, and maybe like James Storm, Chris Saber, and Willie Mack will come down and there's a big huge brawl.
Something like that. We'll see what happens.
Still, I can't believe they managed to get goddamn Mauro Ranallo to do the commentary for that match. It's like, oh god, yes please.
Mamma mia, indeed.
Yes. So, on that note, a bit of a weird note to anyone, but I don't care. Thank you everyone for joining us this week for Adeptus Podcastus. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been Tactica Imperialis.
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.